My friend over on her channel, a video for today, talks about being bilingual, and I'm gonna link to her down there. And she from there linked to the video she had seen that had inspired her to talk about being bilingual, and that video kind of inspired me and a lot of things. And one of the things they were talking about in that video was going to restaurants and shops and not knowing which language to order in, or confusing the waiters when they were in their home countries with friends from America or England or something, and they were talking to them in English and then went up and ordered in the native language. I work in the cafeteria, so I have experienced this a lot. The thing is, we have a lot of people who work for ABB here, and the company pays for them to go to our gym. There come a lot of them here, and they get discounts for playing badminton and stuff. And so we have a lot, particularly several Chinese men who come, and sometimes with their families. They know a little Swedish, but not enough most of the times. They don't know enough to really have the kind of conversation you have when you order something. When I start asking them questions, they just look at me like, what? It's just really awkward. And the reason why it becomes awkward is because they know enough Swedish to go up to me and say hey, and sound like they can speak Swedish. I greet a customer and they say hi back, and that's kind of where I go from. If they greet me in English, I will continue the conversation in English. If they greet me in Swedish, then the next thing I say will of course be in Swedish. And then if they respond in English, I'm just kind of like, but I don't know what to do. I get kind of nervous then, like, because if they respond in English and I start talking in English, well, they assume that I just think they don't understand Swedish, and maybe they do understand Swedish better than I think, but they're just not comfortable talking in Swedish. That was one of the things that they mentioned, and it gets really complicated when you speak several languages. And I live in Sweden, and most people here speak English. It's usually the older generations, like my grandparents. My grandfather is terrible. I don't know how he manages, but he mispronounces hello. I don't know how you do that. So me and my friends have always been very good at English, and so we've always switched kind of back and forth between whatever's comfortable at the time. I mean, it's been a lot of times where suddenly in the middle of a sentence you realise that a word you need to use, the first thing that comes in your mind is a word in English, and you can't figure out a way to translate it to Swedish. So instead you start speaking English. That happens a lot. They also mentioned counting in your own language, and I do that too. I find it a lot easier to count in Swedish than in English. I haven't needed to count in English because I haven't lived in an English-speaking country where you have to deal with money in English. I haven't had that big of a problem with that. The biggest problem I have when I go to other countries like America or England is trying to figure out what the hell does this mean with the money. Just kind of like, it's not the numbers that's the problem, it's like the currency, I just don't understand it. What I have noticed is the alphabet. I know quite some American sign language, which is really random. Maybe if I should learn sign language, I should probably learn the Swedish through the alphabet when I'm practicing, just have an alphabet like A, B, C. I noticed every time that I try to say the letters in English that I skip I and J. There's absolutely no reason for it. So I find it hard to spell in English, not just the actual spelling, but spelling out with the letters. And I do tend to count in Swedish, probably when I'm trying to figure out numbers. We started learning English in 4th grade, and I have always loved it because I was good at it. I used to play with my friends and talk in English. I still do this thing where I speak in English when I think something is kind of embarrassing. It's easier to talk about it in Swedish. When I'm nervous or scared, I prefer talking English, and I think it's because when we were in about 4th or 5th grade, I spent a lot of time on my own. By choice, I wasn't like abandoned and nobody wanted to play with me. I just kind of opted to walk about school grounds during recess and make up stories, and those stories would be in English, in very poor English, I realise in retrospect, but if they were in English, because it felt sort of like a secret language. It didn't matter that I was speaking aloud, because if somebody came by, they wouldn't understand me. They probably would have, but it felt better, and I think I still did that. there's no good reason for it. I just couldn't find two that matched.